Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Home and Hose podcast. I'm your host, as always, Freddie Clode, and today I'm beyond thrilled, honoured in fact, to be joined by one of the most successful TV producers of all time. Andy Wilman, in 2002, took a massive punt, and alongside his school friend Jeremy Clarkson, decided to relaunch a failed show called Top Gear. Perhaps you may have heard of it. Mr Wilman's magic and his production worked an absolute charm, and they turned it into the biggest show on TV anywhere in the world, constantly pulling in audiences of over 350 million and forcing their beloved fans to have to wait up to 21 years to get a glimpse of their icons in the studio. Controversy, crashes, fights, fallouts, money, and on a number of occasions, almost international warfare. This incredible entertainment, excitement, ecstasy can all be put down to the scribe of the genius behind the show, Mr. Andy Wilman. Obviously, this podcast is actually about yourself.
Okay.
And obviously, a huge part of your life has been Top Gear and the Grand Tour. Yeah. But if we just go back an even bigger step than 2002 to sort of 1962, you're born in Derbyshire.
Yeah.
And off you eventually go to school, prep school, and then off to Repton, where your classmate, I'm guessing, same age or not? I couldn't quite work this out nor decipher it, but you were at school with Mr Clarkson. Same year?
He was 2 years above me, 2 years older.
But friends or not?
Yeah, we were in the same house.
Right,
so
okay.
These houses, like private school, here we go, public school.
Sure.
The house is about 50 boys in a house. And we were in, like, the shittest one in terms of, it, you know, we would pride itself on the most broken windows, in the most trouble it got into. It was like the wreck at the end of that street. It's all relative, you know, we're not talking about Top Boy. It was still a public school.
Yeah.
But it was a sort of crummy place for, if relatively, troublemakers, I suppose, who congregated there. So we were in the same environment like that. He was 2 years ahead of me. Then I was like brainy, so I jumped a year.
Oh, wow.
So I was a year ahead in age. And we did become mates there because I suppose just, you know, you either stand out through sport, which we were both utterly shit at, or you stand out by getting into trouble.
Yeah.
So we were like, well, we'll take that route then.
Of course.
And we both instinctively took that route. And then, so we did become mates in that sense, but not massively so, because a year in those sort of public schools, a year difference, there is a bit of a hierarchy,
of course,
for socialising.
But there was a badge of honour almost for being in that house. It was run down, and it sounded like that brought the boys
complete
closer. Brought the boys closer together to be part of that, like, misplaced house almost.
Yeah, and I think if you fast forward with it, when we, you know, Top Gear was always often known for controversy, for getting into trouble, winding people up. Now, most of the time, we got that right. Excuse me, we got that right tonally. And what I mean by that is, we would get into trouble, we would cause outrage in the Daily Mail or the Daily Mirror or whatever, but nobody really cared. Sometimes we got it really wrong when we were stupid, arrogant and tasteless, but most of the time when we got into trouble, it was, you know, forgiven. So, and the only reason that happened is we most of the time we could do it with a bit of charm, our getting into trouble. And I do believe that came from when we were at Repton.
Right, okay.
That we had that same thing where, you know, the getting into trouble that we did never made a teacher go, "You are a hateful human being."
Of course. You were cleverly charming.
Yeah, like "I'll get you next time, Butler," or whatever. It was, we'd kind of walk that line where,
like a flanker cheating in sort of a rugby game and not getting noticed. You kind of get away with being a bit cheeky and naughty.
We were that.
Yeah.
And we were, I'd like to think we had some charm about it, so that you're kind of forgiven. And we did that with Top Gear. So the BBC Now marry that to the BBC. What the BBC needs in its remit, because it's got to speak to everybody in the nation, and the BBC will be the first to admit that it's got a kind of Islington, darling of the elite bias.
Sure.
They do need shows like that in their armoury, and we were good at it. We were good at speaking to a big part of the country that the BBC traditionally doesn't speak to.
Of course. But also you were you were the biggest show in the world. So in a sense, they couldn't do...
biggest factual entertainment show in the world. I always leave that bit out.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. They couldn't risk losing you, though, could they, really? You're like the guys... Well, no,
it happened.
Yeah, no, of course, eventually. But I mean, you were saying that every single episode there was a bit of controversy, or not every app, but like a large majority of them. But that's why a lot of people tuned in, because on top of their fix of cars and everything else, they actually enjoyed and looked out and, you know, looked forward to the controversy and the cheek and the fallout.
Yeah, they did. They enjoyed the mischief. And I also like to think we were good at handling our mischief. You know, I'm trying to think of an example. There was a film where we went, the three of them went caravanning for the weekend. Quite an early days one. And at the end, there's a big fire in the caravan, and that just totally, you know, chip pan fire, which we completely set up, right? And obviously some fireman gets 20 quid by ringing the Daily Mirror and going, that fire was faked, they planned it. So the Daily Mirror rang me and said, we know that you faked that fire, and TV fakery was a big deal at the time.
Sure.
And they're like, we know you faked that fire. And I went, oh, of course I fucking did.
Yeah.
And your point is what? And they're like, I was going, well, you faked it. And I'm like, it's a caravan fire at the end of a film that matters not at all to anybody.
Yeah.
You know, it's factual entertainment, and sometimes the entertainment's a bit more than the factual.
Of course.
Now, the reason I'm saying is, I think we handled our issues well in the main. And the public didn't give a shit.
No, of course not.
If you said, yeah, of course we faked that fire because we're trying to entertain you.
But also it's not...
Before the 9 o'clock news.
It's not sort of you were Bear Grylls and sort of pretending to survive out in the open and like, you know, suddenly as soon as the cameras went off, they bought food for you. No. And that would kind of undercut all his achievements.
Yes. If
like, it was an unnecessary thing to kind of get too overexcited about.
Yeah, if we frigged a road test going a car was... better than it was, and people are going to spend money on that. Then we deserve to be hung, drawn, and quartered. But we'd only muck about with stuff that was, like I say, entertainment.
And when did your obsession with cars start?
I have never had an obsession with cars.
Really?
Ever.
Hate them?
Don't hate them, but I kind of moderately like them, but no more than that.
Okay.
Never.
And do you remember sort of, obviously Top Gear originally started in 1977, I think. Do you remember watching that as a child at Repton with Jeremy?
No.
Being like, we can do a lot better than this?
No. Nothing like that. Didn't think like that.
No.
We only watched the special. No, not special. What am I talking about? Specials. The Professionals.
Right, okay.
Yeah, that's the only car stuff you like, was the car chase at the beginning of the Professionals. When they'd like abuse that Rolls Royce on the airfield. But it's... no, I've got no love of cars. It was only... Cars have been the device by which our stories unfold.
You can do your entertainment, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. They're the sort of beacons which carry your story, your narrative, almost.
Well, the whole... I mean, people have asked, why were those shows successful, and why did people watch the Grand Tour? And I think it's always about pressing buttons with viewers. And essentially what we do is a journey into the male brain. We happen to use cars. They could be athletes on a tour of the world. They could be foodies or sports people or whatever, like a league of their own, sports and comedians.
Of course.
They happen to be motoring journalists, and we do it through cars.
Yeah.
But at the core, it's a journey into the male brain, which is, as you'll know as a male, there's a lot of empty room in there. It's a huge black hole with not much in it.
No.
But it's also quite a funny place to be, because you get to self-deprecation quickly, you get to banter quickly, and the reason Friends I think is so popular is the stereotypes of the girls and the boys everyone likes and everyone can identify with.
Yeah.
They play to the stereotypes of boys and girls there, and they have the kind of faults that you like to have, that it's okay to have. And I think our guys are a bit like the guys in Friends like that, you know, they come across a bit thick, they come across as cack-handed, they come across as over-ambitious and bombastic. But as long as it's done with some charm.
Yeah,
but that's what people tune into.
Yeah. But
it isn't the cars.
I've never seen a show with so much pressure after you guys moved on from it to try and replicate a chemistry trio. And obviously they got it drastically wrong the first time with Chris Evans and that lot. And then now they've sort of gone back to people who don't have any interest or knowledge of cars really in Flintoff and that lot, just to try and get chemistry. Right. But they obviously noticed that one of the main tricks, obviously it's different because your presenters were all trained in the journalistic world and also big sort of engine heads, but they obviously noticed that to try and make it a more, I don't know, success in line with the previous series, they needed to put chemistry as the first thing. Which you wouldn't often see in another show, because even though it's very important to have like presenters who get on and, like as you said, look incredible together and it's like a natural friendship, most shows then rely on, like, I don't know, they're judging people or something, whereas they've realised now that, I don't know, that they're almost putting chemistry before the cars again without any knowledge of, I don't know, the people they're putting in charge have no knowledge of cars, but they've gone like, even though it's a car show.
Yeah, there's a balance. You know, R3 do know what they're talking about with cars.
They're the perfect.
So they can dip into cars,
of course,
and they can pick them up, put them down, metaphorically, whenever they want in the journey or whatever. And they've got complete authority on the topic, so you feel in good hands. So I know what you mean, and there's a difference between a presenter who goes, "I love cars."
Yeah.
That can be like a footballer who goes, "I love cars," which is another phrase for "I can afford nice cars."
Exactly.
So I do think our guys have got the edge there.
Yeah. No, massively.
They absolutely, nobody can make a car come to life like Jeremy can.
Not at all.
And if it's a shithole banger, he's brilliant, and so on and so on. So we do have that. Yeah, we have got, I'd say, that whole package is that the chemistry developed properly, back to those early years at the BBC. The car knowledge is there. Third element, the journalism. And the journalism is very important because it means they have total control of the words coming out of their mouth. So there's no writers giving them things to say or do. And that's lightning in a bottle when all those three things come together. Yeah. So Top Gear now, they have, Chris Harris really knows what he's on about with cars, and he's a good presenter. The other two, I think, are good presenters. Yeah. I'm saying I think because I don't watch, and I've never watched any of the iterations. No. So I can see what they're doing, but I know that also what they're doing is, you're right, they're ticking some boxes. They're going, right, the recipe that's got them to make this dish includes male banter, some car knowledge, put it together, and you'll have what those three gave us. Yeah. You never will.
No, of course not. It's impossible to replicate.
You never will, because the flow and ebb and the natural ability they had with all those three elements can't be replicated.
But that's why it seems pointless in a way to try and even continue it. I mean,
I don't know. It's only fucking telly is the phrase.
Yeah.
And it's an hour a week where you can choose to watch or not. They are good at what they do. Chris Harris, like I say, is very good. The other two guys, I know they're good on TV. And there's a lot of hard people working really hard to make a very good show behind it, really talented, good people. So I've often been asked, why bother? Why do they bother? Why do they bother? And I can see why they're doing it, because they're making a show that is watched. It's getting good numbers. Yeah. And it's not for me to look at their stuff and go, oh, we did that first and now they're messing with our legacy, because we've moved on to something else.
Of course.
We never owned the words Top Gear.
No.
I don't look at them and think they're messing with our legacy. They're doing their thing, we're doing our thing.
Can I take you back to when you leave Repton, and then obviously, do you head off to university after that, or do you go straight into work?
No. I screwed up all the A-levels.
Right.
And I thought, well, this doesn't matter because I've now joined a band. Because remember, it's 1979. I'm the singer in this band.
What were you called?
With my mates, we were called 6 Inch Split. But it was a punk era, right? So I thought, with my band, we're going to London and we'll be rock stars within months. So university and A-levels don't matter.
Yeah, fuck that.
So I got a job at McDonald's to pay the rent while the band is working.
What McDonald's was that?
It was Piccadilly,
right.
Haymarket. I was fired on Friday, started on Monday, had a fight with the guy in charge of chips at the front. And it was their flagship store. It couldn't have gone worse because it's Piccadilly. It's their flagship store. It's lunchtime. And it was brutal, the work in there. And this guy kept screaming at me there weren't enough chips. And I said there were. So we had a full-on sort of fight by the chip section.
Nice.
And it's lunchtime. So I didn't even wait to be fired. I just sort of left because that was a game over. Band lasted a month tops.
Right.
Yeah. So I thought no problems with that because I'll be a famous actor instead. I'll just go to acting college. I don't need university. So I did a bit of that, and that went wrong. And so I actually went back to college or university when I was about 25.
Okay.
When I finally realised, okay,
you're not
I
going to be a rock
give in.
star.
Yeah. I give in. I'm not going to do any of those things. So I went back to university then, late.
And where did you go?
Kiel.
Kiel, where's that?
What do you mean, where's that?
I don't know, I've never heard of it.
Where's that?
I've never heard of it.
Poor Kiel. It's, I think it's a good one now.
Okay.
But in those days, if you stopped and asked directions at Kiel, they'd enroll you, you know.
Really?
Yeah. It's like...
Is it in London?
Delivery man would have been like...
Yeah.
Here, stay,
do a master's.
It was like, it's a campus one up near Newcastle under Lyme.
Okay.
Stoke-on-Trent.
Yeah.
Kiel services on the M6.
And are you hanging out then with 18-year-olds? Is
Well,
that quite a weird
how do you want
experience?
to put that?
Yeah, sorry, not in a weird way.
Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah. Well, no, you're not old enough to be, they are 18.
Yeah, there was like 19-year-olds who had just left home, and they're like, woo, and then I'm
And you're like a
25 and I've not
rocker.
been there. But I'm obviously miserable because I'm like going back into that kind of environment. But actually I thought, right, fuck it, I'm going here to, everything's gone wrong, I'm here to work.
Yeah.
So I did work quite hard. I had a good time, but worked quite hard. And the time flew by. Got my degree, Russian and American Studies.
Well, so that's what's again.
Well, I thought I'll do American Studies, and you had to do something with it. And I literally, because it was just I'm going back to college, I literally got a pin and went.
Also, the height of the Cold
Landed
War.
on Russian. Yeah, and I thought, well, this is it. I forget acting and forget music. I'm going to be a spy.
Yeah.
So this is all worked out
exciting.
perfectly. This is fate. And then we did like a couple of months in Russia.
Wow.
And it was a Gorbachev time, so it's still the Iron Curtain.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So there was like 30 of us, students, living in a town called Kalinin.
Studying at the university there?
You study at university like an exchange.
Yeah.
And we did the black market for all our money. Because it was like the official exchange rate was 1 ruble, £1, which is complete bollocks.
Yeah.
But we were getting 100 rubles on the black market, so we just flog everything.
Wow.
We had, so I'd go to the park every day with carrier bags full of stuff.
Oh my God.
Meet the black market guys.
That's awesome.
And
was it quite scary?
No, they were. Honestly, by the time you clear customs at Moscow airport, you think, why the fuck are we having a Cold War?
Yeah.
No one here wants a Cold
Yeah.
War. We don't want one.
No.
No one's got an inclination to fight.
Yeah.
Everybody was lovely and interested, and it's tragic that politics kept people like down like that.
And you were speaking Russian? Do you still speak
Well, we
Russian?
it was Russian studies.
Right, okay.
So not pure language.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd say we got to O level.
Okay.
Oh no, I can't say O level. GCSE.
GCSE.
Yeah, we got to about GCSE.
That's pretty
level.
good. So this is about 1988, right?
No, 88, 89.
Yeah, okay.
Then I thought, right, now I'll be a spy. So I'll go to So I took the Foreign Office entrance exam. Now you have to take an intelligence test first, which I failed that. So that was like failure number 3.
Yeah.
It's one of those tests where there's a bucket, it's got to be moved over there.
Sure.
There's endless questions and they never end.
Very, very hard, yeah.
And you had to get over 50%. So all the spies out there are at least 50%
Especially at
clever.
work. Yeah.
And I failed that. So how fucking thick can you be? And then Jeremy was by now
on Top Gear, right?
No, he was just a print journalist.
Right. He was working for the car magazine.
Well, him and a friend called Jonathan Gill had a motoring press agency. So what they would do, they'd road test a car, write the review, and then send it out. They'd sell it to all the local newspapers that couldn't afford
like
their own.
PR.
Not PR. No, it's an agency though.
No, but I mean, essentially in the sense that they write one kind of review and then send it out.
And then flog it to loads of different newspapers. Yeah, so they had that business. And Jeremy I owe him a massive debt because I'm always, apart from me going, despite the fact I go, I'm going to be a rock star, I'm going to be an actor and everything, riddled with self-doubt. And I'm not saying hasn't got self-doubt either, but he was always like, you're good with words, you look around you can write, go for journalism. And I was like, no, I can't do that. And if you try and get onto a journalism course, there's 10,000 applications and they take 4 people. I can't do that.
No.
And he was like, just start, and he kept bugging at me to do it. And I wouldn't have done it without him, actually.
So this is a meeting or a conversation you had upon returning from Russia and finishing at uni.
Finishing at uni,
you came down
what
to
you
London.
going to do now? And then, so, uni's bought you 3 years of not having to decide about anything, not have a career. And I'm 29 or something like that.
And you'd remained friends with Jeremy throughout leaving school?
Yeah. He was down here, I was still down here. And he was like, you can do that. So I was like, I can't. So there was a newspaper, a motoring newspaper had started called Auto Express, weekly paper. And he said, look, they are churning through copy. They need stuff. So all he did was he rang the editor and he said, a mate of mine's going to give you a call. And then he said, right, you think of some ideas for them. So I rang the guy from a phone box because there were no mobile phones. And I just kept putting the 10p's in and my interview was kind of in the phone box. And he was like, so what motoring experience have you got? And I was like, none really. And he went, no, it's okay. Well, we need experienced journalists as well. So what journalism experience have you got? I said, well, I'd say also none there. And he said, well, that's not the end of the world. He went, you've written stuff before. And I was like, well, no, I can't say I have either. So that's none as well. And so he said, oh, this isn't great. But he went, but we are screaming out for words. So write me some stuff and send it in. And I did. And he said, right, we'll take that and start Monday.
Yeah.
And then it went on from there. So I was like thrown in.
Was that a full-time job then?
Yeah.
Well, okay.
He said, we'll take you on for like 6 months.
Okay.
On like £1.
And where was that based out of?
Camden, Black Cat Factory.
Okay. So at that point you were living, you had a flat in London, which you were, renting with friends or? Was it
I had a girlfriend.
Right, okay.
And we were there and so I started doing that.
So it was sort of just by accident in a way that the industry you ended up working in, or the genre I should say, was motoring. You'd been given the advice to be a journalist, but like
that was a lucky
had
break.
Jeremy phoned you up and been like, Marco P.O. wanted you to go review his restaurant.
All about cars.
Yeah.
It was a lucky break.
Wow.
But I loved story, and then you just learn very quickly.
Yeah.
And they knew that I didn't know much, but they knew that I was bright enough to have around.
So you're given a 6-month contract, and how long do you actually end up staying there for?
2 years, 3 years.
2 years.
Maybe.
And then where after that?
Then Top Gear magazine began. And Top Gear magazine was going to be a big glossy launch. So they were poaching people. So I was poached from Auto Express to be the features editor because that became my thing. That I wasn't going to be. I'm not a great driver. I wasn't going to be the road testing guy, but I could do motoring stories.
Mm-hmm.
So I would go around finding motoring stories. Like, I remember in Los Angeles, I found the old airport where Steve McQueen used to live with his bikes and his planes when he dropped out at the height of his power.
Yeah.
And the guy... So I just went following Steve McQueen, people like Bud Eakins, his stunt driver and biking mate.
Wow.
And things like that. So then in the desert in Dubai, I found the sheikh who was building a pickup truck that was the size of a big house. Wow. With bedrooms inside them and the living room under the bonnet and stuff. And it's like the travel wasn't as sort of big as it was. So Dubai wasn't built really. No. It was like Wild West. So I was doing stuff like that. And then Next Twist of Fate, which again involves Jeremy. Jeremy gets his first solo series with the BBC. He's been doing Top Gear successfully. And then they offered him this show called Motor World, where he would go around looking at the car culture in different countries.
Okay.
And he was like, obviously wanted to do that, and they were like, who do you want to work with? And he was like, if I'm honest, nobody that we've got in the office. But I do know a guy who this is his sort of thing, who looks at the culture of motoring.
Mm-hmm.
So he was like, do you want to do it? And I was like, yeah. And I didn't have a fucking clue what to do. But so it was me, him, a director, a cameraman, the soundman, and that was it.
Wow.
The four of us. Is that 4 or 5?
5.
5.
Yeah.
And we set off. So I was like, well, I'll call myself the producer then, you know. And I didn't know what producers did. But we just bumbled around the world. But there was a lot of ability, if I may make so bold. I knew what I was doing with stories, if I didn't know what I was doing with telly. Jeremy certainly knew what he was doing. And he was like improving all the time as a presenter. He was a great script writer for his own stuff, and, you know, story-wise.
So pre-production, you just plotted sort of 5 or 6 locations you wanted to go to.
You'd have a good look at a country like Italy or Cuba, and things like that, or Iceland.
But the BBC weren't asking, what are you guys thinking about doing when you're out there? Or was it quite...
It was Pebble Mill up in Birmingham.
Yeah.
It was so laid back.
Right.
It was perfection.
I thought that's awesome.
They didn't know what we were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, they went on... I remember the first country we were going to do was Japan, and the man who ran the sort of Top Gear department up in Pebble Mill, he went, right, well, get out there. He said, take $5,000 and, draw $5,000 out of stores or whatever, and go out there and do some research and find some stories. So I went out and I came back and he went, how's it going? I said, good. And he was like, have you got that money? And what's left? And I went, I spent it all. And it was like, what? And I said, well, you said take $5,000. So it was... And then you start to realise there are budgets and that kind of thing. But we did that.
And how did that show get received?
It was really popular.
Wonderful.
It was a big hit on BBC Two. I mean, it was getting... Iceland, I think the show on Iceland got 7 million.
Wow.
Now you think about what gets 7 million today.
That's insane.
7 million would put you number 1 or,
yeah.
or top 3 in BBC One,
Easy,
ITV. It was us versus like Gardener's World.
Sure.
6 million, 7 million, all that kind of stuff. So we were getting really big numbers. And it was the genesis of where we were headed with Top Gear, in that it had a male-female audience. Mm-hmm. Because you got the culture of the country, it looked good. Mm-hmm. And there's loads of girls who love cars, but there's also a load of girls who want to watch some cultural travel, and they're happy that cars are in it, you know. And we just, so those seeds were born.
So that being a sort of incredible success, did other networks surely they came sniffing for the two of you, or not at all?
No.
Really?
No.
Even though you're getting
Actually,
into 7 mil?
That's a good point. Nobody rang up.
Really?
That's a good point, though.
Yeah. Because you've gone, your first foray into TV, and you've made an incredible success of yourself very, very quickly. you'd expect then, with Clarkson being such a attractive personality to have on TV, and your production wizardry working an absolute treat, that people would come calling.
Yeah, you're right, and they didn't. I've never thought of that.
But the success of that
Don't know why that was.
The success of that did allow you and Jeremy to go like, right, we can do this together on TV. We're a great working team, and also should we start thinking about Top Gear, which actually has been slogging along for the last 20 years. We
did 2 series of that, Motorworld. Then we did a thing called Extreme Machines, which was like Motorworld, like it was a travel thing, but it could have been jet fighters, oil tankers, helicopter, Apache gunships, blah. It was all sorts of things, and that was a hit too, but it didn't have that kind of fairy dust that Motorworld had.
No.
And then, what happened then? Oh yeah, then. Now always happens. So the BBC said to Jeremy, right, you're wasted doing cars and planes and speedboats. So they gave me his own chat show, the Clarkson chat show, and that was quite esoteric because it wasn't like a Graham Norton thing where you were going for big names. It was like a journalistic thing written by Jeremy with his view on things. So it was always going to be niche. It was always going to be like...
Were you working on that?
Yeah, because we just sort of worked together.
Yeah.
We didn't really think about any other way. But that was always going to be like a $2.5 million job and a very Marmite show. But, so numbers-wise, not a big deal, but it made him it finished off his learning to be a presenter. I'm convinced of that.
Yeah.
It made him the presenter he is.
Right.
Because the studio is a different animal.
Of course.
And before that, if you watch his stuff, it's like you stand there, you deliver your piece to camera. That's all TV was like that.
Yeah.
You stand, you say your things, and then you move on. And the studio loosened him up.
So he's actually, without really sort of planning on, gone on you both have, gone on the ideal learning curve where if you took little samples of each show you've done over the last couple of years, which have really worked, you then start to think, actually, wait a second, this Top Gear magazine format's not really working. Why don't we introduce that live studio format? Like, we can do a lot better.
Well, no, that was not our doing initially.
Oh, really?
There was, so he left Top Gear in mid-90s, because he couldn't think anything to say anymore. And I was a presenter on it briefly, but so shit that I was sacked quite quickly. I'm not meant to be in front of camera.
Do you have some of those old films still?
Well, they're knocking around on YouTube.
Yeah.
But fucking hell, they're chronic. And,
did you not enjoy it?
No.
No.
And I wasn't bothered either.
Yeah.
I said it like a kid does. If you say to a kid, do you want some cake? And then, do you want some chocolate? And they'll go, yeah, because it's there.
Of course.
So, and I was like, when I left the magazine to work on the show, to do Motorworld, I was like, oh yeah, and I want to present some items, and they went, yeah, sure. But I didn't really want it.
No.
I just thought, well, I'm going to get it.
But at least you had your
but I was crap, and therefore they got rid of me.
Yeah.
Quite rightly. But so Top Gear, you got to be in the mid to late 90s. Factual shows on the TV. You've got Ground Force coming, and that makeover one with Carol Smiley, where people are doing up each other's houses.
Yeah.
They are the thing. They're the new thing, and none of the presenters in them are doing piece to camera. They're just chatting to each other.
Yeah.
And Top Gear's sitting there, old-fashioned as hell. One presenter does a 5-minute item, move on to another one, and it's looking as old as hell. And Jeremy's not on it anymore. Jane Roots, a controller of BBC Two, took it off air. And we had just Jeremy and I had done a series called Speed, BBC One Science, about the science of speed. Wasn't a happy experience because we were in BBC One land, so everyone's got an opinion. And we were just... Our hearts weren't really in it, and we were not in a good environment. it was like a million miles from what we got back with Top Gear when we just pissed about on our own, under our own like regime and plans. So that hadn't gone down that well. Chat show was dying, so we were like, oh fucking hell, what we're gonna do? And then Jane Root took Top Gear off air, and it was Jeremy who said, because where the guy is good, I've got my skills, but where he's good, he's the one with the light bulb moments. He's the one who goes, tell you what, let's smash that wall down and see what's on the other side of it. And then I'll go, all right, I'll find a good way of smashing that wall down or whatever. And he was like, let's go to the pub. Because Jane Root said, I'm not bringing Top Gear back until somebody gives me a good way of doing it. And he was like, let's have that show. So we went to the pub, and he already had, a good few ideas. He'd been thinking it through. And in that pub, we worked out broadly what that show was going to be.
But that was introducing the live studio audience as well, right?
That was the audience. That was guests. Jeremy had already thought of all these things.
Yeah.
Having a track, he'd thought of that, and all the logic was pragmatic. He was like, if we have a news section, if you look at Top Gear at the minute, the old Top Gear, you have to, if you're going to mention the new Volkswagen Golf, because it's an important car, you have to do a 6-minute film on it in the current sort of format of Top Gear, the old one. And he goes, but it's not worth a film because the car is just very good. It costs this much, and if you want one, buy one. It doesn't make good TV, and this is what he'd worked out.
Sure.
So he's like, so if we have a news section, we can just cover off cars that aren't worth filming, and then we'll just film interesting cars. So he was like, he was on it with the journalism and the TV mind that he's got.
And also, did you think that the aspect of introducing a celebrity each episode, or some of the episodes?
Yeah, that was going to be a laugh. And he's like, they've got to do a lap time. And I was like, I say the more cautious one. I'm going, but what if they don't want to do a lap time? He goes, well, they don't come on. And I'm like, okay, right. So Jonathan Ross, who was probably like the biggest TV star at the time, I was going to say, if he doesn't want to do a lap time, he goes, well, he doesn't come on. Yeah. And I'm like, you're mental. It's never going to work.
But you've got to have, I suppose the inclusion of that celebrity thing not only added a separate asset to the overall show, but also if, I don't know, for example, somebody wasn't already a Top Gear viewer, which 99% of the country were, if they saw that they're the singer of the day or whatever, it was another means for them to tune in. Do you know what I mean? Did it not? It's quite a clever asset in that, like, people who may not watch every single episode see that Will Young's on and said they don't want to miss it.
Yeah,
and then they're hooked.
Lots of happy accidents that came together, I think, in the end, because if you watch that first series, it's shit.
Yeah.
Because we were learning. We were completely out of our depth, but we learned. And it was good enough to sort of survive. But the audience was flat dead. We had 50 people. Yeah. We thought that was enough. It was fucking chronic.
And what was the BBC's reaction to that first series then?
Well, like I say, they were like, it got decent numbers. It got 2.5 million, 3 million. So they were like, okay, so, and it was like getting better.
Yep.
It was work in progress, but that's my point about the BBC. They go, all right, it's clearly getting better, so stick with it. Yeah. Whereas in America, they go, take that off air.
Yeah, of course.
After 3 weeks, it's not done what we want it to. So they were really good like that. The BBC are always good like that, and we learned quickly by our mistakes. We got the atmosphere going. We just got it better, and then. Another good thing that was important, which is an accident, but a good one, is it's put out on a Sunday night at 8 o'clock.
Prime viewing time, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you think what Sunday night was then, Sunday night was back then was miserable dramas. Yeah. Scottish Hebrides detective, all that kind of stuff, grim. Sure. So. And there we are with our kind of Friday night feel show. It's exactly. Like TFI Friday with cars. Yeah. We're there on Sunday night. And people start to go, oh, that's a bit of a cheery thing. The kids watch that 9 o'clock's bed.
Exactly.
And it just cheers people up. So the kids start watching it.
Holds off the Monday blues for a tiny bit longer.
Holds off the Monday blues. Yeah. kids start watching it, dads watch it, and then mums start to go. One thing mums love is their whole brood doing something together.
Of course.
So they're going, well, I'll watch it with you.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a family thing. And we start picking up on this, that so many kids are watching it. And the Stig, who was invented as a solution to a problem, becomes a great popular character.
And the problem was that you couldn't find a racing driver who had a good enough personality.
Who could speak, because a lot of them are complete planks.
Yeah.
You know, and I'd done a kind of, it was like that bloody Minority Report board where I'd like done, you know, right, if Jeremy does that, and then we have 2 more presenters and they're doing X and Y.
Yeah.
So the racing driver has got to be doing X and Y, and I was going like, there's nothing for them to do. And anyway, we can't find one that can speak. And again, Jeremy went, hang on a minute, why do they need to speak? And I was like, where are you going with that? And he went, well, he goes, I can do that slidey stuff with the cars, you know, power slides and smoky tyres. He went, I can do that. Tiff had taught him all that kind of thing.
Sure.
Tiff Niddell. He goes, I can do that, but what I can't do is what racing drivers do, which is precise lap times, you know, where they shave a tenth off everything. And he said, now what do we need out of that racing driver? We need the lap time of the car. So he goes, so we don't really need him to speak, so why don't we milk that and we'll have an anonymous driver that no one knows, and then people will be trying to work out who it is. But it was all because we couldn't find the driver.
And why the name The Stick?
Well, we wanted to call him the Gimp. So the first guy we got was this guy, Perry McCarthy, and he was like, fuck off. I'm not doing that if you call me a Gimp. Fuck you, fuck off. So we're like, all right. And then Stigs were what New Boys were called at Repton.
Okay.
So we just did that. And that's what we did.
So
everything was like last minute.
Yeah, yeah.
You know?
I hope you've enjoyed part 1 of this podcast, so please join me for part 2, which is available next to this podcast, where we discuss everything from Hammond's crash and the consequences which came from that, controversies in Argentina and Burma, the eventual fallout with the BBC, and of course that Clarkson punch, but also moving on to the Grand Tour and the opportunities they now have working for the biggest distribution network in the world. So you have sort of 3 years after the first season, I should say, of incredible success. It starts to get more and more popular. Yeah. And, you know, apparently the waiting list for a ticket to come to the show was 21 years.
It was something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sort of the same as waiting for a membership at Lord's. It's kind of insane.
I wouldn't know that.
No, but sorry, just a side reference there, Andy.
Yes, it's the same as Lord's.
Anyway, so everything seems to be going well, and you know, you guys are quickly becoming, you know, the biggest factual show on TV. Obviously, do you go out through BBC America?
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I just want to take you back to the 20th of September 2006.
Is that Richard's crash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where were you when that happened?
In the edit suite.
Really? Can you just take me back to that?
He'd come in, started the golden years as a team. So he'd come into the office, and like I say, everyone's throwing in what they want to do. It's getting big, but it's still loose, you know. And Richard comes in, and we're like, well, we're just having a bit of a brainstorm for ideas for this series. And he went, I want to go really fucking fast, this series. And I was like, well, like what? And he went, like, really fucking fast. Like, I want to know.
I'm not finding anything for that.
This is my phone.
God, that is terrifying.
Hey Series, what are the white line really fucking fast? Okay. Our phone's just joined the podcast.
I know, that is terrifying.
So where was I? Yep.
So he wants to go fast.
Really fucking fast.
Yeah.
And like So there's this jet car that can do 300 or so miles an hour. He went, yeah, that fucking fast. And he went, so I can talk about it. You know, Formula One cars are 220, but I want to go more than that. So we set the film up, and then he had the crash.
And there's no process pre the crash, going in such a fast car where he has to, I don't know, qualify to be able to do so, or not?
I can't remember what qualifying he did. I mean, there was a really good producer, Grant, on it, and he did all the health and safety. So he got like the air ambulance booked. He looked at Richard's crash helmet and went nah, and went and got a Formula One approved crash helmet. Small things like that ultimately
saved his life.
Yeah.
So you weren't actually there when it happened?
No, because it was just another film.
Yeah.
So I'm down the edit, cutting films. Then I get a call going, Richard's crashed. And I'm like, what, is he all right? And it's one of those moments where they go, look, can't talk now. And I'm like, what the fuck? And so I'm getting back and going, talk. And they're going, Andy, fuck off, we've got to deal with this.
Yeah.
And then, they ring back, go, he's speaking, it's okay. And you're like, oh, God for that.
Fuck, yeah.
Right, get back on with everything. And then they ring back, no, he's unconscious, the air ambulance is coming. So you're like, just jump in your car, go.
Yeah.
So I'm on the traffic on the M1. And I'm ringing the hospital. The guy at the hospital said, I can't tell you anything, but other than that he's in a critical condition. And I'm like, you are joking, it's like, you just don't want to hear those words.
No.
And he went, yeah, it's not good. And you think, we're pissing about 2 days ago, talking about going really fucking fast, and it's a 10-minute film for a car show. So the illogical elements, and you've got all these cars in front of you, and you're doing 48 miles an hour, and Mindy was driving up as well. And that guy at the hospital, he was a prick, actually, because he would just tell you enough he followed protocol.
Yeah.
But he told, when the press rang, he said, yeah, he's in a critical condition. But he doesn't tell us anymore.
No.
So his wife hears he's in a critical condition on the radio as she's driving up there.
So.
He was a twat, whoever that was.
Yeah.
And then we got up there, and he was lying there looking bad. And the doctor explained that you're in this critical period where you wait for his brain the swelling apparently around the base of the spine is what suffocates you, and that's what they feared.
Yeah.
Now I think in America they cut your skull away to let it swell, but that wasn't happening up there. But they were obviously very good. It was Leeds, and they knew what they were doing. And then we just had to wait, and totally out of our depth.
Yeah.
Because the most noise around us would have been Jeremy saying something stupid in the news about traffic wardens or something like that. Or anybody who goes below 70 on the motorway, I'd have snipers on the bridges shooting them. Gets in the Daily Mail. That's the most fuss that's been sort of made.
Yeah.
And there we were dealing with that.
Thing is, I remember when the news broke, I didn't affiliate it with Top Gear for some reason. I thought it was like a separate challenge which he was undertaking in his personal life, as it were. Do you know what I mean?
How old were you?
I was 13.
13.
Yeah, maybe I wasn't properly consuming the press. But I just never really remember it being like a Top Gear issue, if that makes sense. I remembered it being a
Richard
Hammond issue.
Yeah, I mean, it was on the news a lot.
Yeah. Huge amount.
Huge.
Yeah.
I remember Martha, my daughter, she was 3 or something.
Right.
4.
A lot more with it than I was at 13.
No, she's more, she's 6. She's 6.
Right.
But Amanda had said to her, Daddy's gone up to see Richard because he's had a bump on the head, because Martha knew Richard. And she sort of walked into the living room and there's like TV screen, Martha standing, watching the news, going, it's not a bump, is it?
No.
promise me he'll be all right. And you've got to go, yeah, he will be. And she's going, yeah, but you know, like 6-year-olds do. No, but you promised me. And I'm like, I don't fucking know. And then he was out of danger. And I remember I talked to Sid Watkins, who was the Formula One brain specialist and head injury guy. And he really pacified me, because he went, was he talking after the accident? I was going, yeah. And he went, he'll be all right then. And I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, he'll be all right. He went, if he's not talking, there are plates that are sheared in the brain, and there's nothing you'll ever do about that. And he went, but it's like a filing cabinet that's been tipped over, and everything's on the floor, and it'll take its own time to put it back together, you know. So it was weird for us. And did it step the show up in terms of the public consciousness? Yeah. Because when he came back, that first show was 9 million viewers or something. It was mental.
Yeah, and you guys chose to show some of the incident in the show, in the broadcast.
Yeah, we had. I remember BBC News were going, we want that footage, and I was like, and you can fuck off.
Yeah.
And they were like, so then they went to the head of television and said, get the footage off them, and I was like, it sits in our safe. Fuck yourself. So, but the BBC sided with us. So first time it was shown was us.
So in a way, would you
powerful.
say? I mean, it's a hard question to word, but that the crash benefited the show in the long run.
Not in the long run.
In the short run.
Short run. Yeah, in a mercenary way, it did, because it added to the fact that those three really do the things they do.
Yeah, they put themselves on the line. They're not fakes. Yeah, I agree with
rare in TV.
Yeah,
people that they're putting themselves out there for a factual entertainment show to that level.
Yeah, no one's going to question the source of a campfire now, are they?
No, they are. So there's that element around them that they are. They always, part of their popularity was that they were always the bloke in the street who ended up on telly, but that added that layer. And what else? Yeah, is there a ghoulishness about watching the guy who survived? Maybe. But that, you can't live off that. You know,
of course
the viewing
not.
figures settle
of course,
to something.
Of course. But one thing which did really help was from the 12th series, the feature-length specials.
They were an accident as well.
How did those come about?
We went to Alabama, Florida one, the Florida one, where we had the Alabama incident. We went to Florida to make another of our 25-minute shows, and we just came back. I started cutting it, and when I got to 50 minutes, I was like, "Oh fucking hell, this is all good." And then I was like, I got to thinking, why would we cut this stuff, throw this stuff away, so we can have a news section that week?
Of course.
Or have Rick Parfitt driving around in a car. Why are we going to do that?
Yeah.
Let's
use it.
Let's use it. So I said to Jeremy, have a look at this, but I think this runs all the way. And he went, yeah. So we put it out. We just built it as a special, and it went down really well.
Yeah.
And I mean, Alabama helped the petrol station bust up. And then it became a thing, right, we're going to do one. So like I say, you've got TV moguls like Simon Cowell, and he's fucking good at sitting down and planning, but he plans a world domination, and that's what he does, and he's very good at it. Ours was always a happy accident. So, you know, the Stig, an accident, specials, an accident, and so on and so on. But we were bright enough to know that when we were onto a good thing, we'd go with it.
But in the specials, you end up going from a TV producer to a film producer, in my view, really, in the sense that you're
Whoa,
yeah. But I'm being honest, like, if you went around any house in the mid-2000s, everyone would have an area of their bookcase dedicated to the DVD specials which came out, and they became, Christmas gifts forevermore.
Yep.
And
unwatched.
I must say that for a casual Top Gear fan, they would massively interrupt the specials. People who didn't even watch Top Gear would watch the specials because no longer were you following a narrative of a sort of car-based episode, but you're just watching a comedy and a thriller all intertwined into.
I know, and they did have a much broader appeal.
Yeah,
and people who don't want to wade through the news, or there were always those divisive elements on the main show where people go, the guest slot, car people didn't like it.
No.
You know, they go, fuck that, I'll watch Graham Norton if I want to listen to a guest, and so on. Some people didn't want to watch the car test.
yeah.
But we hit the sweet spot with those things. Because, sorry, just jumping in.
Yeah, go on.
Because they were the pure, undiluted essence of those three elements, that point I'm making about it going into the male brain.
Yeah.
You've got the self-deprecation. You've got the scenery, the backdrop and everything. You've got the banter.
Mm-hmm.
And another important factor is nothing really happens. We were surrounded at the time by shows. There was a whole fad at the time for shows called How To and 60-Minute Makeover and Improve Your... And shows would always start. BBC was full of people going, at the end of this show, you will know how to, sell your house, do up your house, cook, improve your accounts, and so on. And in our show, it was at the end of this hour, fuck all will have happened. You'll have had a break from life, basically. Not much, but 3 men will have driven 3 shit cars somewhere.
Yeah.
And that's as much as you're going to get. And that, taking a break from having to succeed, achieve, what have you, just being laid back in that way, celebrating failure, it was such a tonic, I think, in the schedules.
Of course. Well, you see now that so many media outlets have like copied that way of trying to let talented people on screen entertain an audience for an extended period of time without having to have too much structure. Yeah. That you've seen a huge loosening of planning, as you were saying earlier about Simon Cowell and all this stuff. All the shows are completely thought out, things like that. Whereas nowadays you see a lot more, I suppose it's reality TV in a way, but not really, structured and clever. Yeah. Obviously those are huge financial successes, DVD sales, all the things, merchandise. And you guys own the rights to that, didn't you?
Yeah, we shared it with the BBC, which was quite an achievement.
Yeah, how did you negotiate that?
Well, we were going to leave. It was quite simple.
Right. Okay.
We were going to go, set up our own set up our own show.
Yeah. So about 2009, you were.
Was it then? Yeah.
Well, yeah, 2009, you were threatening to leave with your dignity intact.
Threatening.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure if threatening,
word.
but you did end up staying for another 5 years.
We were invited to leave.
Really?
Yeah. Somebody approached us and said, I'll set you up, I'll back you, and you make your own. It won't be called Top Gear, but you'll all get rich.
This is another media outlet.
Yeah. You will get rich, you'll own your show.
Do we know who they are or not?
So, I do.
Can I?
So, I don't know if he's ever got talked about. Let me have a think. So, we went...
Was it ITV?
Nah. So we went, we said we're off, we're going. And then at that point, BBC fucking chronic at that sort of thing. They were like, oh, well, we'll double your wages. And we're like, no, you don't understand. Yeah. We're going to own our own show.
Yeah.
So at that point, BBC Worldwide had to say, all right, we've got to make them a proper offer because they're selling this thing, they're making all the money. So they had to rewrite the deal where they cut us in.
Okay.
And that's how that came about. And that went on for till the end.
Yeah.
Till the end.
So you end up staying and doing 3 or 4 more years, and then 2014 seems to be, in my view, the catalyst to spark the flames which engulfed the end of your time on Top Gear.
Yeah.
The incidents in Argentina and Burma.
Well, they weren't a problem. All right, Burma was dumb.
Yeah.
Argentina wasn't a problem.
No.
I mean, it was a terrible time.
Yeah.
But it was one of the rare occasions where we weren't guilty of the crime we were accused of.
Of course.
But whereas Yeah, when we were rude about Mexico, that was dumb. That was our stupid, filter gone.
And even at that point,
temporarily.
you don't have a BBC lawyer or someone look over content before it goes out. No,
You do.
you do. But they green-lighted everything. They were happy.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
it's one of the ironies that when we left the BBC, people used to come up to me and go, well, you can finally do what you want and say
Yeah.
what you want. And I'm like,
Well, you can't really.
fuck off. We've
Yeah.
been doing this for
Yeah.
How do you think we got into so much trouble and caused
course.
so much
Yeah, yeah.
controversy? It was allowed.
Yeah.
You know, the BBC compliance team is the best in the world.
Yeah.
There is no question.
Yeah.
They let you go a long way,
Mm-hmm.
and their whole thing there, and they used to use us as an example to other shows who they were trying to get them to be more edgy. So they would say, you know, look at the way they're doing it,
Yeah.
which is because the whole point is it's not getting a complaint doesn't matter.
No.
It's being able to defend yourself when you do.
Of course.
And that's the mantra at compliance.
Yeah.
The people who decide how far you can go. And we did that. We embraced
Yeah.
that. So they loved us in that sense, is that we were actually functioning properly. Whereas if you got shows that were going, oh, we better not do that because we'll get complaints.
Mm-hmm.
The compliance lawyers were going, stop, you're supposed to get complaints, you know. It's just, there's no harm in it.
No, you just got to be ready to
You
defend
just
yourself.
got to be ready to defend
Yeah.
yourself, yeah. And so, so we would comply stuff. But in the main, then, you know, and they would pass stuff, and then things would go wrong.
Do you think, though, because you guys were kind of, as you said in some interviews before, a bit more relaxed and like losing maybe a bit of interest because you've done so many episodes, so many.
We weren't losing
features.
interest, we were knackered.
Knackered, yeah. Sorry,
we were strung out on a
You were
wire.
strung out. Sorry,
Yeah.
that's a better way to put it. But do you think that when things obviously came to a final blow, if you pardon the pun, with the was the name Oisin? What was the name?
Oshin.
Oshin, sorry.
Yeah.
Oshin. Had there just been sort of a wave of tiredness, which there was only one way it was going to come to an end, and that was going to be something catastrophic like
Well,
that?
the perfect storm was brewing because there was a group of senior management who were absolutely culturally and politically and everything opposed to what we were about. So they would be very happy if we didn't exist anymore. So that was a small group but powerful one. Like I say, all our guys, the BBC compliance team, we had a good relationship. A lot of BBC management, we had a good relationship. But the friction was building between us and them. We were series 22 or whatever, so you've got that pressure of you're starting to struggle for stories, you're creaking, and you're worn out, knackered, because making Top Gear and making Grand Tour is vicious in terms of the workload and the amount of stuff we shoot too much, we do too many things, they're too ambitious, but you still got to deliver on time, put it in a bottle. And all that was coming apart, and everyone was knackered with everybody else. So everyone got tetchy. And then, something like Burma, we'd made a stupid mistake. Mexico, we'd made a stupid mistake, and we apologised about Mexico. And they were like dumb things where we'd shot ourselves in the foot, given everyone who was in opposition and ammunition. Then Argentina comes along, where there's this whole scandal that we deliberately made a number plate to wind up Argentinians. We didn't. I could waste 3 hours of tape explaining why that couldn't possibly happen, but we didn't. But at that moment, the BBC, that lot that hate us, are like going, it's just another example of their behaviour, you know. So it all builds. And then we got the guy in charge at the BBC, the TV, said, right, I want an investigation into their office, their practices, their working practices.
Well.
And I was like, on what grounds? And they were like, well, we don't think you look after your staff properly. We think, you know, it could be a hideous working climate in there. So I was like, okay, wankers, fill your boots. And I was very aggressive. And this guy came in and he interviewed everybody, and he gave us a glowing report, because we actually are, at that time we were, a very dysfunctional family, but we are a family.
Yeah.
And that didn't please the powers that be, that we got this glowing report about actually our working culture and practices were fine. And it grew from there, and it grew from there. And then we get to the whole evening where the whole incident happened. And I'm saying incident because we can't talk anymore about it. And that was enough. That was enough for them to say, right, we're calling time on you.
How long had he worked for you?
Who?
Ocean.
Years. He was a good worker.
Right, okay.
He's a bright guy. Yeah, good worker.
Does he still work for Top Gear now, do you know?
I don't know what he does now.
Fair
I don't know. I moved on. I left
Yeah, of
the
course.
BBC soon after.
Anyway, you have a worldwide audience of 350 million. So
Yes.
obviously when you guys left, I can only imagine it was 3 or 4 seconds before all the phones were ringing. Not even 3 or 4 seconds, maybe half a millisecond
<coughs>
before your departure's announced in line with Jeremy's.
No, he left first. Well, he was sacked.
Yeah, sorry. In line with that, in terms of you guys all left together.
I left shortly after.
Yeah.
The BBC tried to keep Richard and James.
Yeah.
Because it was like split them up. And then, we started to get the offers coming in. And we knew that it was going to be American. If we were going to get an offer, we didn't know.
No.
But we thought if we do get one, it'll be American, most likely. Because we're not going to... ITV... How can they? What's the budget for that kind of show?
Yeah.
And would they want something that was so BBC? I wouldn't if I was them.
No.
I wouldn't just transport the show across.
Yeah.
Sky didn't want us. BBC, Channel 4, there's no way they could afford that, and probably wouldn't want us.
Yeah.
Culturally, they wouldn't want us. So we knew that
it was going to be a big player.
If anybody was going to put food in our mouths, it'd be
one of the
Americans.
big boys. Yeah.
And it was. The Americans started to ring very quickly. So again, here we are, not knowing, never having been in this situation. So we got ourselves an agent in America, and then he took care of the rest.
And did you meet with any other people apart from Amazon or not? Or can't you
We
say?
talked to a few others. We talked to Netflix. We
Right.
talked to a couple of others. I mean, I can't remember because there was a load of names flying around.
But surely at that point you're full of excitement for what lies ahead, but at the same time you're so fucking knackered after 15 years that in a way you're a bit like, do we have to go straight back to work?
There was an element of that. There was, because your mixture of, I am knackered and we're exhausted and we should learn. We're standing in the rubble of a great show because we're still getting the same numbers when it goes down as we had been 8 years earlier.
Yeah.
We're still going well.
Holding on, to the audience.
And we're standing in that rubble, knackered, and mentally like needing a break from everything. But somebody brings up and says, here's an offer, get going. And there's a kind of self-flagellation thing where you go, or if you're worker bees, which I believe we all are, we are worker bees, we just go, right, okay, we work again, we get going. And we also, on an ego front, wanted to prove that we weren't dead.
No, of course.
That BBC management getting rid of us would not have the final say.
Yeah. It wouldn't be the final chapter in the book.
Did.
Yeah.
You know, we wanted to stick one up at them.
Were you nervous that the change of scene would have an effect on the show?
Yeah, you are, because you know that legally, right out of the traps, you've got one hand tied behind your back. You can't do certain things. So you've got a fucking oil tanker full of lawyers, going over everything you're doing.
What were some of the most ridiculous examples of things you couldn't do?
You get down to things like people going conference calls about whether James can say "oh cock," because he did it in the thing, and you're like, guys, stop! Everyone on $500 a minute, discussing. Well, is it a cultural thing? Is that a thing that James? Does he say that outside of his work life? And
I can imagine he does.
It got to that level.
Yeah.
And I think we, as in us four, knew the BBC were not going to sue. Mm-hmm. So we were a bit more
Relaxed.
robust, but we still did
Had
what
to
we
go
were
through the
told to a
process.
big degree.
Of course.
Because lawyers are scary. But we knew that the BBC, for starters, there was a big mass of people in the BBC who didn't want that to happen. There was such a sour taste afterwards. And I don't think they were coming along for a kicking, to deliver another kicking.
Do you have ownership of this of the Grand Tour then
We
amongst
do.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, so what happens is we own the show, but we license it to Amazon.
So you set up your own production company
Yeah.
pre-joining.
No.
Was that good fun or not?
It was basic.
Yeah.
There was Hammond. I remember Hammond's off down to Knight Frank to look for offices. It was that basic.
Really?
I was in Ryman's buying wall charts and different felt tips.
Yeah.
We were that basic.
Yeah.
Eric Fellner, who's a utterly lovely guy, who's one of the founders and owners of Working Title, the movie company. He was like, "You can't be homeless," so he gave us an office for free.
Well.
At his place, and he's just, until you get on your feet, keep that till you get on your feet. And they're making Bridget Jones's Baby next door, and we're like, whoa, we're in this place.
That's awesome.
So that was there was a nice finish, so we were there, but it was really basic. So there was me, Hammond was down at Knight Frank going, offices, what you got? I'm in fucking Ryman's buying staplers.
What's Clarkson up
And we
to?
just had to, and Jeremy was doing his bit. I don't know what he was doing. I think he was looking at locations, but we were all, like I say, we are worker bees.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be so bold as to make a comparison like this, but I remember reading about the Beatles who would just go to work. Whatever size they were, if they were told to go to work, they went to work. Until they got their power, and realised that they should control what they were doing.
So signing on to do 3 series, 38 episodes, does that take over your whole year, or do you allow yourself, I don't know, said every year, whatever happens, I'm going to have these 2 months where I can just spend time relaxing, recuperating?
It's always a pipe dream, but it never happens.
Really?
No, never happens. Never happens because if you had a show, if you were making a show like The X Factor or The Apprentice, the format's
seasons,
fixed.
Yeah.
Well, more than that, the actual format's fixed.
Yeah, that's it.
So you know there's the boardroom.
Yeah.
You know there's a challenge where they've got to flog fish.
Yeah.
Or they've got to make a perfume bottle.
Sure.
You know those things. You know how many shooting days they are. Whereas we start each series going effectively with a blank sheet of paper, going, what are we going to do? And then all the problems of doing it that way pour forth. Right, let's try and film in Kazakhstan. Oh no, we can't. Right, scrap that. That's 3 weeks wasted.
Of course.
Let's try and get that car. Oh no, they said it's going to be ready. No, it isn't. And so on and so on. Everything becomes elastic. You get some guy in Vegas to build you some motorhomes and they're shit halfway through. So your idea of parceling off some time
It's impossible.
it was a pipe dream.
Yeah.
And we're never able to do it because we're like, I liken it to, it's like we record an album each series, in that you know the sound, you know the style, but the songs are all different.
Of course.
And some of them are hits, some of them are solid album tracks, some of them are don't work. But it's one of the reasons we've lasted so long.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to get bored of the format because there isn't a format.
But also you, being the exec producer, have to be involved in every step of the way. As you're saying, the pre-planning, the storylines, being there for the shoots.
I do less of the setting up now, but we used to be. I think it was brutal because also, one, like I say, we're workers, and two, when it started to get big, when our ambitions got bigger, we didn't see that coming. So it was like me, Jeremy, James and Richard running a corner shop, selling newspapers and fags. And then suddenly we're running Harrods, but we don't skate, but we still try and run it.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm now cutting 50-minute, an hour-long films instead of 10-minute films, but
Okay.
nothing's changed.
Yeah.
I'm still. I don't let anyone else cut them, so
Yeah,
I just
sure.
got to spend more 2:00 in the mornings doing
But
it.
did the others come into the edit suite as well, or not at all?
No,
Or after they've done their bit to camera, that's them done?
no, they don't. They come in and do their voiceover.
Yeah.
Jeremy and I'll knock a film back and forth,
Okay.
so I'll get a film to a good shape,
Yeah.
and then by that point, you need fresh eyes.
Yeah.
And he's really good at that. So, like, I sent him one over this morning.
Sure.
He'll take another 10 minutes out that I can't find, and then he'll come back and go, "Do you know that's like the?" And so on. So that's how we work.
It's been received incredibly well, the Grand Tour, and you've held on to your old editors, right?
Got all the old editors,
From
got
Top
all
Gear.
the old camera crews,
Right.
some of the old team. The rest of the team, a lot of them are still making Top Gear.
So that was kind of the final middle finger up to the guy who was investigating workplace problems when everyone
Well,
was
I
come on
love
and
the
work
guy who actually did the investigating was lovely.
Yeah.
But the people that initiated
Yeah.
it, fuck you. And it was, yes, they did stay with us.
Yeah.
They did stay with us.
Just to finish up, basically, a couple of quick questions, but I just want to ask finally, in terms of the flow for the Grand Tour, what is the plan now? You've done 38 eps, right? Or sorry, you would have done from the contract signing the 3 series.
312s, 36.
Yeah, sorry, 36. Sorry,
Yeah, so we've done 36 so far.
and now
we're
you've
making our
got
specials.
the specials, which is 2 a year
Yeah.
to come out.
Yeah.
And where will those come out? In between each other or like together?
I think first one's Christmas, which is the one I'm just working on. That's
Mhm.
when I leave you. I'm going
Yeah, yeah.
back over there. And I'm going to work on that one. And that's coming out Christmas. Then the next one will be spring.
Okay.
And then basically at the minute it's a bit loose. We give them to Amazon. And they put them where they want to.
And these hour-long specials are longer.
No. This one at the minute is an hour and 3/4.
Wow.
It
So
was
it's a
2
proper
hours
Christmas
and a
film.
quarter when I
Wow.
did my first cut.
Really?
And it's like nobody wants to watch that.
No. An hour and 45. I think it's a very good time.
Oh.
Proper film.
So it's I took half an hour out without destroying the structure,
Yeah.
and now I'm really stuck.
Are you
I can't
excited
get
by it?
Yeah, it's good. I'm always excited when you find they've worked.
Yeah.
I'm proud of that,
Yeah.
and I'm proud that here we are, like 18 years on, and something like the Mongolia one we did last year. A lot of people said that was the best one we'd done.
Yeah.
I'm really proud that 18 years on, people are still going.
Yeah, it's amazing.
That stands up with your best stuff.
Yeah.
That makes me so. When I look at my heroes, people like Alex Ferguson, who stick at one thing for a long time.
Yeah.
Anna Wintour, they stick at one thing a long time, and they don't listen to people who go, "Well, have a varied CV."
No.
They're like, "No, this is what I do,
Yeah.
and I'll never." Hopefully drop the ball kind of thing. And I look to them, to those kind of people where I think this is what you do. So what you've got to do is maintain the standard,
Yeah.
that you guys set yourselves.
What's your biggest regret?
Ooh. 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 When the fallout happened, I didn't handle that well. I think when I look back, I could have been smarter about what moves I made to try and help save the situation. And I didn't see, because we were, like I say, we were either blind with anger or fucked with exhaustion or siege mentality. And when I look back now, I would have done different things to try and shape the outcome so that we wouldn't have had a big, a collapse like that.
It's rock and roll, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got your, I mean, every aspect from what I've learned today of your sort of TV career has been in parallel to what could have been a very successful rock and roll career as a punk rocker. Do you know what I mean?
No,
There's been
I
the
know,
fallouts, the rock
I
and roll,
know.
the drama, the excitement, the accidents, everything.
I remember, Jeremy goes shooting with like rock gods, and he was shooting with Eric Clapton once, and he was like talking about how jealous he was that he'd never been in a rock band or something like that, and Eric Clapton sort of turned to him and went, "What, and you're not?"
Yeah.
And he was like, "No," and he went, and Eric Clapton went, "You fucking are." And I think that's right. There's all the arguments, all the dramas, and we own our thing.
You sure?
As in artistically,
Yeah.
emotionally, we have not been given stewardship of The Apprentice or something.
No. It's
we created our
you
thing,
and yours. Yeah.
and it grew, and we were like, we had no ambition other than to survive, and then it became a monster. That's like a rock band. You start out wanting to play and have some moderate success, hopefully.
Yeah.
Then it became something, and then we've kept all our ownership and all our emotions and kids we've had and everything's all wrapped up. Our lives are all wrapped up in it. Richard's 2 near deaths, fights, bust-ups. There is no show that's gone through that and is still coming out with the goods at the other end. So that, as a rock band parallel, I'll take that one.
But do you guys socialise outside work, as it is
Not
work?
as much.
No.
We used to do a lot, but partly that's just everyone gets busy.
Yeah.
When everyone gets successful, everyone gets busy.
Yeah.
And then after 18 years together, you do run out of...
Of course.
So you kind of socialise now when we meet on shoots.
Yeah.
But again, age.
Yeah.
We'd get wankered and then
Go film.
get up and carry on working. And now people like 10 o'clock go, "Oh, I had enough," or whatever. I mean, this last shoot we did in Cambodia, Vietnam, there was like 2 nights, I think, where we never went to bed because of the work.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Now we're still doing that.
That's what we're calling it.
No, God, yeah, it was work. So trying to get a drink in on that one, in that schedule, is a tough one. But I'm very proud that we owned it and own it. And I'll go with the rock band thing.
And the final question I have is, obviously you then just talking about being so busy that you can go to sleep a couple of the nights. What does the future hold for you as a producer and a writer?
Well, we've got more time at the minute, so I've got to work out what to do with that, because we're doing fewer shows now, which does mean more time.
When will you start to see that time?
That hit me at the beginning of the year, and I was absolutely hopeless about dealing with that, because I suddenly realised that, again, like a worker bee, if somebody turns the big key in my back and sends me down and goes, right, 12 shows, off you go, I know what I've got to do with my life.
Yeah.
And now I've got gaps, and I'm like, oh, fuck me. What? I'm not. I haven't been used to that for a long, long time.
No.
So I've got to adjust and embrace that I've got now time to develop more projects, which I will.
Yeah.
I will develop more stuff. I want to write stuff. Everybody in my shoes, non-scripted, looks at the scripted world and is like jealous or thinks they're superior.
Yeah.
So you always look at stuff like that. And I've got an Amazon solo project to do, but I don't know what it is yet.
Will that be factual based or?
It'd be non-scripted.
Okay.
But I don't know what it is. It doesn't have to be cars. It doesn't have to be anything.
Right.
Where we were. I mean, if I said I want to do the world's biggest ping pong ball, they'll probably say "fuck off." But
Yeah.
It's
So what is the makeup of a series of that? Is that like you've signed up on 8 episodes or?
it's
or it's just one.
Jeremy started his farming thing right now.
Right.
So it's life on him trying to run his own farm. So that's his project that he's doing for Amazon. James is doing one in Japan. Richard's got one going, which is a kind of reality, brainiac driven. I'd let him tell you, because it's something that he's devised. And mine, I haven't got a clue yet. But so we've all got that to do.
Yeah.
And then, But I've got to adjust my brain that I've got control of some of my time.
Yeah. Maybe it's time to get back.
Because I don't like being out of the coal mine.
Maybe it's time to get back into
shoved down. I like being shoved down.
Maybe it's time to restart your rock and roll career.
I think
or your
that's
punk
done.
career. Really?
I think that's done.
Not one last hurrah.
No.
Well, Andy, thank you so much for talking to us.
No, thank you.
Cheers, that was
Thank
great.
you very much.
Sorry, I kept you for way longer than I said I would, but
It's
ultimately,
a podcast, isn't it? You can do anything you want with it.
yeah, exactly. I didn't realise that you had to go edit all that stuff.
I will.